This is the Nasserman Hockey Podcast with James Nichols and John Zella.
Welcome back to the Nasserman Hockey Podcast and our IslesFix Postgame show. Our first one. I'm John Zella, as always, joined by James Nichols of the fourth period. Hell of a game. Going late, as always, because we're doing a live show.
Every time we do a live show after the game, it goes to overtime and then eventually shootout. So welcome to Nasserman Hockey Podcast, where everything's made up and the points don't matter.
No, I was just watching. Whose Line, like reruns over the weekend. So it's very, very funny that you're bringing that up.
That's like top 5, one of my favorite shows of all time.
Drew Carey version. Colin, Ryan, that group.
Of course.
Absolutely. So we come to you late on a Tuesday. I hope the people listening to this either on Wednesday who weren't able to watch the game or joining us are able to get as much information as we can give them from this kind of late game. A lot of different Islander teams seem to have showed up during this game, but we'll first start with Monday's game, which looked really complete.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, what were some of your overall thoughts from Monday night's win?
That was probably the most Islander game they've played all season.
I think we said that about another game though. There's another.
But this one eclipsed that one. You know, I think the last time we said that we were like they played a good 55 minutes and then they dropped off in like that last 5. This one was a complete 60-minute effort. They played real well yesterday. Sorokin was lights out. And they got contributions all around. So today, a little bit of a different story. But listen, back-to-back wins against a team that they should have honestly gotten back-to-back wins against.
Absolutely. I thought, obviously the star of the game was Sorokin on Monday night. I thought that was abundantly clear. And it was good for the Islanders to have that kind of spectacular game out of him.
Yeah.
The rest of the team looked good. I mean, you're getting scoring from different parts of the lineup. I believe Cizikas scored also on Monday night as well as in Tuesday's game.
Yep.
So good to see some of that fourth line chemistry kind of coming together and getting some offense. But moving on to tonight, again, another game that they should win. They have the goalie advantage. I mean, Sorokin, Varlamov, much better tandem than Martin Jones and Carter Hart.
Yeah.
Flyers are a team. They just played the night before. They continue to kind of fall. A little bit of a winless streak going on for them. I think it's in the double digits now. What do you think? I think we're just going to try to go over some broad topics here. We can kind of break down by period as well. What did you think of the offense? It was definitely a little back and forth, but low shot count. And it was even Butcher Cross even mentioned it on the broadcast. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, one of the things that has hindered the Islanders this season has just really been puck retrieval. They haven't been able to dump the puck into the offensive zone, get it back, and get set up in the offensive zone. So they struggled to cross the Flyers blue line a bunch. They couldn't get any shot generation because they were just really trying to battle for the loose puck and losing most of them. So one of the things that is a big difference from last year to this year, and I believe Sean Kelly, through the fourth period brought this up in a video a couple weeks ago. The Islanders went from one of the best teams at winning puck battles to then one of the worst teams in the league at winning puck battles. I think they're something like 25th overall in the NHL this season. And I'm not really sure what that attributes to. Maybe it's the loss of Leddy and Eberle, but I don't know how much Leddy and Eberle were contributing to the winning the puck battles statistic there. Maybe it's the Zdeno Chara being 44 years old, and maybe he's not winning.
You're talking about offensive zone puck battles?
Yeah. When they dump the puck into the offensive zone and they essentially chase it and try to win that puck battle to regain possession, they're losing those battles, and that's what's leading to a bigger lack of offense for this team right now.
To me, so I definitely see that, and something I commented on in Monday night's game. Like I'm gonna say last night, and people that are listening tomorrow are gonna get all thrown off. So on Monday night's game, I mentioned that the Islanders are very one and done. They're going on the rush. They're getting a shot. Maybe it's getting blocked. Maybe it's making it towards the net. But then that's it.
Yeah,
Well, kind of to your point, they're not really setting themselves up for the retrieval. That's
yeah,
what I'm noticing. The puck, there's no shooting for a rebound, making sure that the puck's gonna stay in that crease area. It is getting to the corner, and they don't really have the same energy as they have in the past, especially that fourth line. And I don't want to go dive too deep into them because we are going to discuss that on the show later this week, which we're going to be joined by Dave Pagnota of the Fourth Period, one of James' colleagues. And I do want to dive into that as a bit of a topic, but I don't see the same energy out of any of the team, including the fourth line. So that puck retrieval is definitely a problem. Uh,
yeah. And it, part of the problem too is that it's January 18th as we're doing this. But we continue to say it every time we have a show. The Islanders have yet to play as a whole unit. Pollock is still out. Palmieri is still dealing with issues, and the kids have stepped up, and it's been great. But the lines are changing. Not too much lately. Between last night and tonight, there was one change: Parise and Bellows swap. But not having that consistency game in and game out, where the lines are intact and staying the same. These guys aren't really reading each other, and are, there was a point where when the Killer Bees line was together consistently, they would know where they were, where each other was, like they had eyes on the back of their heads. Not anymore. They've only been together for now 2 games, 3 games this season, and it's so far so good. But they're still trying to get that chemistry back. Lee and Barzell have been together for the most part, but it's been a rotating right wing between Bailey. I think Wallstrom got 1 or 2 tries. Bellows got a try. So Parise tonight. The thing is, there's been no consistency in the lines, and it's due to injuries. It's due to COVID issues. It's
yeah,
due
I
to
don't want to dive too deep into this because this is
no,
becoming
sure.
we're zooming out a little too much on the lineup. But what did you think of Parise getting that shot heading into this game?
I think he deserved it. I think he's one of the better skaters on the team. He can keep pace with Barzell, which is great. Bellows did his best. Didn't quite have the chemistry with Barzell last night. You could see a couple of
Trot said as much as
dump
well.
passes. Yeah, you saw that. Dump passes, went by Bellows. He didn't expect them. But again, Parise has that speed to keep up with him. And I think it's well deserved. I've said time and time again, Parise is one of the most snake bitten players in the league, but he continues to generate chances. And he's just not finding the back of the net. But I thought he played well tonight. He was good on the forecheck. He was good on the back check. I think he meshes well with that line if they can continue to play together.
Yeah, the thing is, late in the game, the line blender was out. Bavilier got moved up
Hmm.
on that line with Barzell. It was Wallstrom, Nelson, Lee on, I guess you want to call it a second line. Um, Parise down on the other. Like it was a very big mashup of different players.
Yeah.
Wallstrom still not getting that chance on the first line, which is really curious, especially considering then the late pick to go in the shootout. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I thought with Bellows in this particular game, I don't think he played like the chemistry is obviously not there with Barzell. It's clear to see that.
Yeah.
I don't know really, like, and this again, topic for later in the week. I'm just gonna keep saying that this entire episode. I'll try my best not to. It's clear that the chemistry isn't there, but then there were soft plays. Like you wonder why he's in and out of the lineup. Maybe he's not consistent. Early in the game, he had a very soft play in the neutral zone,
Yeah.
and he just didn't. And it was aggravating to see because you're like, Trotz will latch on to one moment. It seems like a mistake or something like that, especially with the younger players that have, he's under 50 games still, well under 50 games. It's just a soft play. No
Hmm.
one, no pressure. Kind of saw somebody out of the corner of his eye. Defender also was kind of starting to step up, but they were half a zone away, and he just gives the puck away. I don't know what else, I don't have the play right in front of me, but that was one of those plays where making a play under pressure doesn't seem to be his strong suit, which on a first line when you're playing against the other team's top defensemen and other defensive players, that's a little bit of a problem. So it's
Well, yeah. I mean, and listen, that's a valid point, right? It wasn't a great play, but at the same time, the Islanders um haven't played him consistently except as of late. So he's played what, like 10, maybe 12 in a row now at this point. But other than that, he was in and out of the lineup. So those mistakes are bound to happen. Still just 23 years old, still learning the game at the NHL level. This is kind of his first rodeo as a full-time NHLer, if you can even call him that right now. He still probably needs to play another 10, 15 games before you can consider him quote unquote full-time. But those quote unquote rookie mistakes are going to happen, but the more reps he gets, the more he plays, the more those mistakes will start to go away, dwindle down. Um, so yeah, although it was a bad play, I think he has a good spot on the third line. I think he belongs. I don't think he has to come out. And I think Bellows, if he can stay consistent with finding the back of the net, and he starts to maybe lessen those chances, or I'm sorry, those mistakes that he made, like he did earlier today. Listen, no harm, no foul. Hopefully that Trotz works on it with him, and doesn't just pluck him out of the lineup and sit him down. Because in my opinion, the only way to get better is to keep trying. Play again. Give him the chance.
Yeah, I think with it depends on the way the rest of the Islanders season goes and what they need and who can step up.
Yeah.
Um, Yet again, a larger topic that we won't concentrate on um, at this particular moment.
Yeah.
Um, going going to the defense now. Obviously, we got to talk about Noah Dobson.
Sure.
Um, he had at one point 6 of the 20 something 24 shots.
Yeah.
Has been a powerhouse for this team, and really is like as we kind of spoke about with Staple and Dobson stepping up, and we kind of asked him those questions about, do the Islanders still need to look for the same kind of defenseman that we thought they did? Because he's really come almost out of nowhere. He grew up very quickly this season and
Yeah.
became, especially in Pulak's absence,
Mhm.
what the Islanders have really needed. What do you think of his performance tonight?
He's been fantastic. Not afraid to shoot pucks on that. And this is you're starting to see the player the Islanders thought they were going to get when they drafted him. In juniors, he was a very offense heavy defenseman, still reliable in his own end, but he was creating a lot of chances in the offensive zone. And he's doing that again. He's not afraid to shoot. He's finding the shooting lanes too, right? You see a lot of Islander shots get blocked by their opponent. His shots are getting through, which is really good to see. He does a really good job walking the line. He does a really good job creating and finding space. The one criticism I have for Noah Dobson is on the power play. He's not setting up the bumper shooter, whether it's Wallstrom or whoever's in that slot, um, to hit the net. It's listen normal. Again, another young player, 21 years old, first time getting top 4 minutes now. He's really getting top pair minutes now. I think back to back nights. I didn't see his time on ice tonight. He led the team in time on ice, so he's getting the minutes. He's got to flush these mistakes out. But I mean, again, he's been nothing short of fantastic. The small blunders will happen, but the more he plays, the more he gets the reps, the more those things will phase themselves out of his play. He's
It's something I've noticed the last, I don't want to go back a handful of games, but noticeable over the last maybe 3 or
the
4.
pass to the sniper or
The
the
pass
shooter.
to Wallstrom,
Yeah,
it's either too far in front or too
yeah, that's
on
the
the
one
like
thing.
way now depending on it, because you assume they've had this conversation in some respect where Wallstrom is saying this is where I want it. So maybe Wallstrom wants it more on his back foot, and the margin for error there isn't very much. If it's a little too far back, he's reaching. If it's a little too far in front of him, um, then he's handcuffed,
Yeah.
right? So
And
I
that's
think
like a
that's
couple of practices of him just sitting at the point, someone feeding him passes and him, quickly getting that pass over to the shooter.
yes, I
It's just
think that's
something that
where
he's gonna have to hone.
yeah, they've been I think my issue, and I guess as a counterpoint to what you said is this this power play unit's been together a long time. Dobson has been the quarterback for some time. They've tried to be setting up Wallstrom a number of times. It worked for the most part early in the
Yeah.
season, but it's not right now.
Right.
And that's where I think that's where they need to figure out what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's what's aggravating me because it's not a hard pass. There's no pressure. They're deliberately making this play. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to run it through Wallstrom on that side, which I really wish they would move him into that bumper role and move Barzell to that other side, because then you have two passers. It's a little hard to get those, or at least run it through Barzell instead of Dobson. Something, because they have three righties at the top of this umbrella, and it's just not working the way that I'm
Well,
seeing it.
I
I
wouldn't say
mean,
it's
the
not.
numbers
I wouldn't say it's not working. I
as of
think
late
they
it's been
have.
okay, but it's not. I don't know.
Well, they've scored before last night, right? They didn't score on the power play. Before that, they scored in 8 straight games on the power play. So I wouldn't say it's not working. I would say that they just have a few things to, to fix, which is one, Dobson getting that pass over to Wallstrom because he's not getting those shots off. He's not generating any offensive pressure or scoring chances because that pass is just a little too far to the left, a little too far to the right. But otherwise, Barzell is drawing all the defenders to the right side of the ice when he's holding the puck. He's essentially holding onto the puck. The power play is 2 minutes. He's holding on to the puck at least 30 seconds, which is a long time because you want to you want to get those passes off quick to try to move defenders out of position and score a goal. He's holding on to the puck for a while. Defenders are moving from their lanes, and he's able to get the puck back up to the blue line where Dobson is either going to shoot it or pass it off to Wallstrom. When Dobson gets the shot off, it's either hitting the net or it's creating a rebound.
Dobson on the shot front isn't the
Yes,
problem.
that's working.
It's the passing part where they could be
Right.
scoring. I guess it's great. Yes, they're scoring in whatever 8 straight games. They could be scoring more often. Especially in a game like this where
Uh-huh.
they could have used it and moving the game forward and keeping control, really, and then they kind of let it go late in the game there without getting a shot in the first half or more of the third period, which is a different problem. But when you do have those power play opportunities, especially in the playoffs, it's something, if they make it this year or whatever the future is, and these guys are young enough where they're going to be on this team for the foreseeable future, um, contracts aside, just because they're so young, they need to figure it out. It's
Yeah.
not that hard of a pass. And yeah, and you're right. They're running it through Barzell. He is drawing those defenders. It's just, I don't know. It's tough to watch them do it. I guess it's the best power play we've seen from them in a while, but it's still bottom of the league, even with what they've been able to do as of late.
Yeah.
So that's where I say it's a little bit of a problem. They have a lot of ground to make up. So
Oh, yeah.
they need to make up these opportunities throughout the game. Like I said, brutal start to the third period. They had to rely on the goaltending. Soroka made a lot of great saves. I know the score ultimately was 4-1, including the empty netter. But Sorokin really kept that game, or the Flyers at bay the entire game. Same thing with Varlamov, although, again, the score is a little bit different tonight versus Tuesday night versus Monday night, but Varlamov was really responsible for that. Do you think he's building a little momentum now finally?
Well, he's only let up before tonight 1 goal in each of his last 3 games. So, I had stated I didn't understand why Varlamov shouldn't have played tonight because there was that crowd out there. But in my opinion, listen, Varlamov's still a starting goaltender in this league. He needs to get the reps in, and on a back-to-back night, why not get Sorokin some rest and play Varlamov? Whether he's the 1B or the backup at this point, he still needs to play. And like I said, he could still be a starting goaltender somewhere else. People forget he put up Vezina candidate numbers last year, though he didn't get it because of games played discrepancy. He was, by and large, the workhorse. He carried the Islanders to where they got to last season, and he's still a very dependable goaltender. So he was fantastic. Aside from that blunder on the second goal against, he shouldn't have played the puck, and even further, he probably shouldn't have passed it to a flyer. That was that was not great. But aside from that, he came up with some really big saves and some really big moments. And then ultimately, went 9 rounds in the shootout. He won the Islanders this game.
Yeah, the shootout, absolutely. He was, uh, he wasn't kind of biting on any of those opportunities,
No,
or the shots and the moves. Either was Carter Hart. It
I
did
was
go
going to say
90
credit
lines
Carter
for a
Hart
reason.
too. He didn't.
Yeah,
Barzell probably put 55, 60 stick handles before he made a shot attempt, and I probably would have bid on attempt number 5.
yeah. It sounded like he was chopping vegetables out there with all the
Yeah,
stick handling, dusting off the puck. It was a little. a la Patrick Kane, as Kevin Weeks said on the broadcast, but you expect him to make some different kind of moves. He's not really that kind of player all
Yeah,
the time, so you kind of expect him to make larger sweeping moves than those little chopstick things. Um, but that doesn't mean yes, Varlamov, whether people want to admit one way or another, um, Varlamov is an important piece of this team, especially with the way the schedule is moving forward.
vitally.
Yeah, it's going to go back and forth, especially while they're in the hunt. They keep winning games, the more likely they're going to have to keep doing this, even if it's like you said, 1A, 1B, or Sorokin is the number one and Varlamov's the backup, and it goes three games in one game, like Trotz had kind of mentioned, um, not in passing, but very briefly some time ago. So it seems like that's the way that it's going.
Yeah,
Varlamov has gained momentum, like you said, 3 games in a row with just 1 goal against, and then he, as much even though it was a 3-3 game, he still had to make some really big plays.
yeah.
Because there was a lot of lazy kind of plays on the defensive end.
Oh yeah, there was a
Konechny and a bunch of other players. They're
yep.
really quick, and on the defenders, Giroux blew by the Chara and Mayfield. For anyone who's seen Slapshot 2, that's the Louisiana move. Blew by you, and it looked like he had a step or two on both of them. It
Yeah,
was incredible.
yeah. He still made
And then a
26
hell of a
saves.
shot.
So
What's
26
that?
saves on 28 shots. I mean, he was good.
Yeah,
31 saves on 34 shots. He was
yeah.
good.
So yeah, I think he's important um, going down the stretch here. Moving on to some players in particular, Robin Sallow. Loved his play over the last 2 games. What do you think?
He reminds me of a Devin Tays light. He's really good with like Dobson has been walking the line, handling the puck and getting shots through to the goaltender, especially in the last 2 games. Listen, we thought he got his first goal last game, wound up being a deflection by Cizikas, but nonetheless, he got the shot through. He created an offensive chance and it found the back of the net. Tonight, same thing. Got a received a pass and no hesitation shoots the puck real fast. He's quick on his feet, which I like to see. He hasn't been such a liability that he was at the beginning of his tenure in North America. He made a bad mistake yesterday, which was a miscommunication amongst a couple of skaters. Those mistakes are going to happen. But listen, right now, where the Islanders are in the standings, and if they're going to make a push, I understand they're going to listen. No, they're not folding. They're going to still go for it. However, I think that they understand too that the way Wallstrom, Bellows, Dobson, and recently Sallow have been performing, they're part of the solution moving forward. Um,
It's possible anyway. I
and
think
I yeah,
Sallow and definitely a lot of comments out there that I'll agree with, that Bellows and Sallow have a lot to prove, but there's a huge
agreed.
opportunity there.
Yeah, agreed. And right now, I think Sallow's taking that opportunity and he's running with it. He's
100%.
showing that he belongs right now. He's paired pretty well with Green. And I like what I'm seeing from him. He's generating chances and not too many liability issues in his own end. Aside from that 1 goal against yesterday, regardless, they got the win. He buckled down and he was good the rest of the game. So good to see. Listen, they if they're gonna make mistakes, it's it's going to happen. They have to
The young players.
the young players. It's going to happen. All right, you gotta. These are growing pains. You got to go through the woes, and it's good to see that. Although the mistake happened, they were still able to overcome it and win the game. So
I
keep
couldn't
giving him reps. Confidence is growing. He looked really good tonight. He
He
was
did.
really confident with the puck. He moved it really well and found the back of the net. Really good shot.
Yeah, I'll say this about Sallow, aside from the goal, he seems to be and it's interesting that you say did you say Taves and
Hayes light.
Taves light? I think I'd go more towards a Letty or even a Pellick in so
Okay,
much as, and it's
I
something
see
that
Letty.
it's something that, and I think this is that, like, obviously Letty and Pellick are very different players and their defensive styles and their skating and all of that. The thing they have in common is their ability to kind of like escape danger with the puck. And it's
Yes.
something that's an underrated part of Pellick's game, is pulling that puck out of corners, uh, kind of using a Butchieism. deking in a dive, and he's very mobile. He can move the puck. He's agile out there. This is Pelech. Sallow seems to be kind of watching Pelech's game a little bit. I think
Good.
and right good. If Pelech was a little bit more upside
That's
on the
all-star
offensive
Adam
end,
Pelech to you.
all-star Adam Pelech, who's shown flashes of offense. We've seen
Yeah.
some really great plays from him
It's
that I
not
don't
his
think he's
strong suit, but he can do it.
I think it is his strong suit. He's just not pushed to do it, and he might not have the vision. He might not know his own ability, and he doesn't have the vision to see it because when he does, it's incredible. Sallow has that hunger for offense,
Yeah.
and that could be the difference between the two.
Sure.
Where if Sallow can pick up a little bit of those escapisms, a little bit of those defensive plays, and Sallow just continues to use his offensive ability to his advantage, that's a really good complement
Yeah.
um, to Dobson be in the lineup, right? If you think of
Yeah.
Pelech, Pulak, Dobson, Sallow in the future, even as early as next season, that's really good. And I saw that from Sallow over the last 2 games.
Yeah.
It's it's been really good. And I'll throw up while we're talking about him, we'll throw up Noah. I'm not gonna butcher your last name here, bud. So I apologize.
Come on,
But
it's obviously Wexelblatt.
Wex, sure, on the fly. That's that works. So Wexelblatt, I don't know who sits for Pulak when he comes back.
They have a decision
We
to make.
we did discuss with Arthur Staple in last week's episode. You can go listen to that on YouTube where you're watching this now, or wherever you get your podcast, episode 93. And we kind of discussed if Sallow would get the no adoption treatment the rest of the way here. It seems like Sallow kind of played his way into favor. Aho had he was in COVID-19 protocols, but it seems like Sallow's kind of solidified his spot there. And Aho's really gotten the short end of the stick, in my opinion, in a lot of ways. But it seems like Sallow's there for now. When Pulak comes back, it depends on what they want to do the rest of the way with a Zdeno Chara. Green has no signs of slowing down, so it doesn't seem like he's the one. I think it's the easy choice, the low hanging fruit is to say Sallow's playing well, give him the latitude, sit Chara here and there, unless it's a particularly physical game or something like that. Although I haven't seen Sallow shy away from anything. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, well said. You know, Pellick's not going to sit. You know, Mayfield's not going to sit. You know, as much as he might have some lack of fans out there, I should say. He's not going to sit. Pulak when he comes back is a must play. So those 3 guys right there are definitely going to be in the lineup. Like you said, Green is listen every night, always doing the right thing. He's rarely doing the wrong thing out there. So he's probably not going to sit. Really
You
comes
don't
down to
recognize him. You could
yeah,
say like you could. I ask myself sometimes, did he play? And it's just he's doing the workhorse thing. He's not making any mistakes.
yeah,
He's not no. It's kind of similar to how I view Parise. He's not out there making mistakes. He's not scoring, and
right.
yes, that's frustrating. But that's not the point. That's
No,
not
yeah,
why he's there. He's there to make quiet plays and contribute when he can.
yeah. So I mean, it really comes down to and boils down to Chara or Sallow, and if they want to continue grooming Sallow to be the defenseman that he has the potential to be. Listen, if it were me behind the bench, I'd keep Sallow in, and I would, start rotating a 44 going on 45-year-old Zdeno Chara.
I will say this though.
But it's a what have you done for me lately kind of situation.
Yes, I think the where what I'll add to that is if that's definitely what you do in the regular season. If the Islanders manage to make it to the playoffs,
Yeah.
you Chara is likely, thinking putting my Trotz hat on. Chara is likely the one with all that playoff experience to
Oh
to
yeah.
get the nod in the playoffs. So I wouldn't be if we're, talking to our future selves here, don't be frustrated if maybe they do choose Sallow a bit of the way going forward. And Chara does sit here and there in hopes that they do make the playoffs. But that does mean Chara is going to get the time in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So let's save ourselves the frustration and just get it out of the way. Because I won't like it either. If Sal's played good enough to get in the lineup, you keep him in. That just doesn't seem to be what Trotz wants to do.
Right.
I know that's a middle of the road and that's boring for us to say, but it's most likely the truth, unless Sal just comes out of absolute nowhere Dobson also did that this season. So it doesn't seem like it's impossible.
Right.
The Islanders are again, they're finally kind of becoming a one unit, one team again. Um, Slightly different with a Bellows in the lineup and a Sallow, but they're they're almost back to their normal selves here. Um, going to the going to the shootout. Um, Again, a late one for us, a late start to this post game. Seems to be the what happens every time we get this going. Wallstrom was the late shootout winner. Great to see. I don't believe he scored in a shootout before, or at least not this season. So it was great to see that he got one there. What do you think about the placement of him in the shootout order?
I don't have an explanation.
Oh,
Nobody does.
not an explanation. I don't think that's not what I'm asking. What do you think about his placement in there? Is it curious? Is it strange to see a Parise or a Bellows, which wasn't as weird, but as it went on to see like a Dobson get a chance before him and a
Yeah.
Parise, that seemed a little weird to me. Not you didn't see that?
No, I did, and I'm saying I don't have an explanation for his placement. I don't know why he was so far down in the pecking order. Maybe there's a scouting report on Carter Hart, and maybe Wallstrom doesn't fit the bill. I don't really know. Luckily, no goals through 9 rounds for the Flyers, and finally Wallstrom gets his shot and shows his strength, and that's scoring goals. So, um, listen, he's got one of the better shots of a lot of shooters I've seen lately. It's Ovechkin, it's Line A, a couple more snipers, and then it's Wallstrom. He's got the shot. So
Yeah, I thought it was obviously I don't have any explanation, but it was
definitely strange.
definitely strange. Bailey being that high as well. He's played a little bit better as of late. But not anything to like want. I also don't, the strategy in, to your point, the strategy in shootouts, I have no idea.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's totally random, right? I mean, the thought process there could have been, yeah, Wallstrom's a shooter, but while moving his feet, does he do that often? No, he's really standing in his office over to the left, we'll say in the cubicle next to Ovechkin and ripping shots while standing still. But while he's moving his feet, how often does he score a goal? A couple times here and there, but most often he's ripping one with his feet planted or at least gliding. He's not really a mobile shooter, at least to this point. What do you
Yes,
think?
he can. He's quicker than I think we give him credit for. He does. He can move his feet. That you're right though. That he is not that type of shooter. So he might not be good for something like the shootout, but he also did score. So I guess it works out. We need to step away and take a quick break, but we'll be right back.
Nassim Hockey is brought to you by DraftKings. We're on to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is celebrating with huge odds boosts for new customers. Counting down to Super Bowl 56, new customers can get 56 to 1 odds on any team. Bet just $5 and get $280 in free bets if your team wins. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still get in on the action of the divisional round. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings daily fantasy football contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use promo code THPN, and get 56 to 1 odds on any NFL team. Bet just $5 and win $280 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code THPN for 56 to 1 odds at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older, New Jersey, Indiana, and Pennsylvania only. New customers only, minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer, restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. A lot of
We're back.
opportunities to use that THPN promo code this weekend, so definitely do it to it. Some big playoff games in the NFL coming up.
I need to keep up on any of that. It's going to be too cold in Syracuse for me to do anything this weekend again. So I
It's
need to
like
catch up with the football.
New York sports gambling is legalized now, and of course they chose the season where I totally did not pay attention to the NFL because I had a heartbreak of a loss in the championship last season in NFL fantasy, and I just decided I was like, you know what, I'm not doing it this season. This always happens to me, and of course, next thing you know, New York sports betting is legalized, so I haven't even taken advantage of these promos. You guys definitely should.
Yeah, I'm not one for betting. That doesn't feel like a good thing. Oh, I also don't know. I don't know what a parlay is. I don't know what any of that stuff is. People seem to really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that get into that stuff. It is just super not for me. Not even on hockey. I just like don't get it at all. Um, but enjoy. I guess don't lose your shirt or your house or whatever. Um, I post it's a little bit delayed on the live show here from on our end, but I did post in the comments. If anyone has any questions, feel free to post them. We'll do our best to answer them. Again, we'll have some topics that we won't be discussing here, where we'll discuss them alongside David Pagnola of the fourth period in Thursday morning's episode. That's when that one will be available to record tomorrow night. Any closing thoughts on the last two games for the Islanders? ESPN put up a stat that the Islanders pretty much need to win 8 of 10 moving forward, maybe including tonight. Um, is this the type of two game? It was a tale of two games, two different teams almost. You definitely want to see more of that Monday night
Yep.
spirit moving forward, that type of energy. Um, this isn't going to cut it against a lot of the teams, and they've not fared well against teams higher in the standings than them, which for a while was everybody, but particularly current playoff bound teams. Um, how can they take the positives from these last two games and move forward with a few days off now before the weekend?
Yeah, they play again on Friday. So, really, what they have to do is they have to take all the positives, everything they did right in this game. They really need to focus on that over the next few days, practicing at the Northwell Ice Center, and go into Friday knowing that they're going to be playing the league's worst Arizona Coyotes, and build that confidence. Right, have your continue steamrolling over the opponents that you should be winning games against. Because next thing you know, Toronto is going to come in on Saturday. It's an elite team. They know how to score, albeit, yeah, they got defensive issues. Yeah, they only have one goaltender. Maybe they don't see Jack Campbell because they're quote unquote a bottom of the league team right now. But still, the Toronto Maple Leafs know how to put the puck in the back of the net, and they need to bring everything they did right on Monday, everything they did right tonight into Friday, and just keep that momentum.
Yeah,
Build that confidence.
the Leafs do play the Rangers tomorrow, and they'll have a couple days off before visiting the Islanders. And that'll be in another
Yeah.
emotional game. Tavares' first visit to UBS Arena, which was originally
Yep.
scheduled for April, and that got swapped. They were originally supposed to be in Toronto. I was supposed to go to that game. I'm a little disappointed that I won't be going. I'm still
Sorry,
waiting for
pal.
the rescheduled Washington Capitals game from December 23rd. I'd love to be able to use my tickets. Hopefully, it gets rescheduled in February. That's my guess anyway. They don't really have a whole lot of other time besides of that. Um, yeah, I agree. I think it's they have they again a few days off before another set of back to backs, and then the schedule definitely picks up uh, from there pretty much every other day. Another set of back to backs next weekend, and the schedule. They play the Flyers again next Tuesday.
Yeah.
So if you thought it was getting a little nasty with Chara, and whoever was on the Flyers, that poor soul who caught a couple from Big Z, who at going on 45 can still chuck them pretty good.
Yeah.
That was a little scary. And you saw Chara in the box with the ice bags on his hands, so he definitely landed them,
I
which
I
is
think he even said he was like, "Oh, my hand."
yeah,
So all mouthed in the box.
he did it because he knew he needed to do it,
Yeah.
but he also regretted having to do it. Um, Reluctant, some may say, but yeah, he didn't look happy about it. And I think the hard part is, no pun intended, is that they're at times hitting the helmet of the other player. It's not their
Of
face.
course.
There's not a
Yeah.
lot of, especially with visors now. Char's in an open position. He doesn't wear a visor. Um, a lot of other players do. So there's not a lot of open area. You got to be pretty precise, and when you're being thrown around the ice
Yeah.
like that by your jersey. It's not easy to do. Um, but yeah, I think the Islanders are kind of figuring it out here. Given the lineup that they have, that Monday game is much more what they're capable of doing. And I don't want to
Yeah.
think that they're starting to play different in front of different goaltenders and Sorokin and Varlamov. I understand the latter game is, the second half of a back to back. You're going to play different in general in those games.
Yeah.
Um, but if they can
And
kind of,
Flyers are playing with desperation. They just lost
yeah,
4 in a row. They were trying to prevent that. So, bit of a different approach from the Flyers as well.
yeah. So in that second game, they definitely came out with urgency. The Islanders were very flat in the beginning of that third period. So you want to really see more of that Monday game going forward, but they can start to feel good about themselves. After a really flat game against the Capitals over the weekend, if that was Saturday, if I remembering correctly, in the afternoon, which was kind of nice little
Yeah.
matinee 2 p.m. game. Um, Memory serves, and that was really flat. But this lineup can do it. I think I'm very positive about it. I didn't like watching that game. It was very frustrating, that Capitals game.
No.
And you hope they needed that bounce back game on Monday. A little bit of a letdown today, kind of a little bit of back and forth. You're right, Flyers are playing with desperation. So maybe you kind of expect that. But this is an experienced group, and I think that's where my disappointment is they know how to get through this stuff. They know how to bounce back.
Yeah.
And then they kind of lay these eggs every once in a while or for stretches of the season. And I'm almost don't have any excuses at this point. Like I don't want to even see tonight's game, the Tuesday Flyers game, happen. Like yes, it's the second half of the back of the back. You're a professional. I don't know what you
Listen,
think is happening out there. Do your thing. Be prepared. Be mentally prepared. You got your coach back. You have two great goalies. There's no excuses. No lineup changes. Everyone played the night before. You should be a little looser, ready to go. I don't understand what the problem is in their consistency. Something that we've said throughout the history of this show, and really, I feel like my fandom as with the Islanders.
listen, in the same breath, good teams will play bad games and still find ways to win, which they did tonight, and that was good to see.
I do
There's
appreciate that. Yes.
they're 6-1-1 in their last 8 games. They are 8-3-1 in their last 12, and they have collected points in 12 of their last 15. You're starting to see a little bit more of the Islanders team that we saw the previous 2 seasons. Take away that awful losing streak that they went on this season, this we wouldn't really be questioning. And obviously, this is all hindsight and relative, but if that losing streak doesn't happen, this team is fairly the same as the past 2 seasons. They're playing, 500 hockey now on paper, but in the last month or so, they're playing well above 500. So,
Yeah, but it's against teams that aren't great and they should
which is
beat.
true.
Now they need to beat those teams. I'm not
But I mean,
taking
they've
that part
still,
away, but there's other teams. They did beat Boston, who was going through their own COVID situation.
yeah,
But that game, losing to the Caps, really any loss at this point, um, is going to hurt this team,
yeah,
right? That's not great. But losing to a team like the Capitals, who they're not really chasing them, but they need to prove to themselves that they can beat those teams, and
right.
that's kind of what I'm
No, I
trying to drive
totally
at.
agree, and that's why, listen, you have to beat these teams, and it's good that they are. You got to bring that momentum into those meaningful games now against the opponents where, if they can squeak into the playoffs, this is who they're going to see. So they need to start playing and winning those games. Starting with Saturday. Saturday's a big one. They have to win Friday. They have to win against the Coyotes, and then Saturday's a big one. Toronto. And then, it's a little bit of a drop off until next Sunday when they see Minnesota because they'll play Flyers, the Kings, and then Seattle, another 3 bottom of the league teams, but have to play and beat or have to at least play a meaningful game against Toronto and then the same against Minnesota a little over a week later.
Because Boston got beat up pretty good tonight by the Hurricanes, which doesn't
Yes.
really help the Islanders um, that much because they're any team in the East winning a game at this point isn't great. But Carolina is so atop the Metropolitan Division that it
Yeah.
doesn't doesn't really matter. They're not necessarily chasing them, but that wild, after tonight's game, that wild card matchup, Islanders are playing. They're at 500. There was a time in this season when you didn't think they'd be able to get there, but they're chasing. And they still have 4 games on the Boston Bruins,
Yes.
and they're now 8-6, 14 points behind. So the games in hand, they also need to beat the Boston Bruins down the stretch here,
Oh
which
yeah.
is also going to be important. So yes, they need to win those 4 games, but then they need to make sure that they're beating uh, Boston, Pittsburgh, the
Yeah.
Capitals moving forward. Those teams in front of them, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Columbus, Detroit, um, likely will not last in those positions. Philadelphia is kind of falling hard. So they're competing directly with those teams in the wild card at the moment. Um, so those games just become even more meaningful. And if you're going to lose, make it against a team like the Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
Make it against those teams that don't matter, that are outside the metro, that aren't necessarily going to fall to the wild card. Toronto's playing really well. Tampa's obviously playing really well. Um, Tampa's played 40 games so far. That seems crazy in comparison to the Islanders. So
Yeah.
um, they need those games against those teams, and that's why I know I point to a game like the Caps where they had a real opportunity to kind of prove to themselves that they can do it, but also was important as far as the standings were concerned.
I mean, listen, when you look at the standings, yeah, the points don't look great, but look at the point percentage. They're at 500 now, right? If the standings went by point percentage, they would have already eclipsed New Jersey, Philadelphia, and Columbus, and they'd be sitting right outside of it behind Detroit, who's at 512, another couple wins, and they eclipse Detroit, and then they're right in it. They're
Yeah,
right in the hunt. So
Washington has played 8 more games,
yeah,
which puts, if they win it, that's a lot of games to win. Let's not pretend like that's something just like to rattle off.
right.
But that's 16 points. That puts them a point behind the Capitals.
Yeah,
So that again, that's where that game comes into some serious play where they get that. They're really giving the Caps some trouble there. They're really making the Caps have to maybe squeeze their stick a little hard because then that's a team that they're chasing.
yeah.
It's a lot closer than even Boston in some respect because Boston also had a little bit of issues with their schedule. So definitely some stuff to figure out moving forward. It seems really early in the season to scoreboard watch and look at all these things, but for where the Islanders put themselves in, and excuses here or there, sideways aside, it was important. It's important to look at where they made mistakes and kind of own it and move on, so that they can kind of make their way move forward.
Yeah. Speaking of the schedule, by the way, the NHL will be releasing the rescheduled schedule tomorrow. Where
Oh,
so the
good.
Islanders will likely know if they're going to be playing in that what was supposed to be that 2 week Olympic break. It's likely. I don't think they want to move the April 28th end date for the season. So um, a lot of games that are going to be coming up back to back. I think the All Star break is going to really just be it for them. That's going to be like the last break, unless there's another unforeseen COVID issue, which I hope doesn't happen. But that's another thing that changed where they're not going to be testing asymptomatic players. So, going to be a lot of games back to back or every other night, and it's going to be a big uphill battle. They have the most games in the league to make up. But listen, 500 hockey right now is nothing to write home about after that losing streak, and how this season started. So, um, it's things are trending in the right direction.
All right. Any closing thoughts on these last 2 games? Really, 3 with the Caps, since we won't be touching on that with Dave tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, just learn from what your mistakes were in the Caps game. Shades of that in tonight's game against the Flyers. Not enough shots, not enough generated chances. They really got to focus on how they did yesterday on Monday. Um, you know, Throwing everything towards the net. In the beginning of that game yesterday, they got right to the power play pretty quickly, and they were just peppering Martin Jones. They got on the board and they just really dominated as a whole in that game. They need to get back to that style. They need to continue playing that way. Again, that changed tonight. The Flyers played a little bit of urgency. Um, was expected for them to come out and play that way, having now lost 4 in a row, but continue to build off of the momentum that you have in the last 2 games, and just really work on honing the craft of getting shots on net. You see what happens when you put pucks on net. Only good things, right? And even if it's a weird angle, doesn't matter. Get the pucks to the net. Good things happen when it's in the crease.
Absolutely. I agree with all of that. I know we need a little more bite to the show, but I agree. I agree with all that. So I won't add anything more. It's definitely getting late. So thank you for everyone who was able to stop by the show here after the post game. Really sucks that the games aren't available on all different platforms, and
Yeah,
ESPN Plus is great, but maybe that's a discussion for a different time when we have a few more moments. So thanks again for stopping by. Like we said, we have another episode featuring Dave Pagnotta of the fourth period coming up to be released on Thursday morning. So you can get that then wherever you get your podcasts or right here if you're watching on YouTube or following along. So until next time, let's go Islanders.